We're live. Sunday afternoon live. So welcome everybody to our town hall meeting. My name is Reverend Denise Schubert. We have about, 55 or 60 people sitting here, and I don't know how many people are at home, but make sure you chat on the stream so we can know who you are and where you are. This is not really an annual meeting, it's really a town hall meeting, so it's not, it's not a members only meeting, it's for the entire community. So we're so happy that you're here. I'm going to pray us in, but let me just give you an overview of our agenda. We are, Mark Russell will be coming up in just a moment. We have a couple other board members who are coming up to share what is to be shared with you. We're going to be doing finances. Next slide, please. We're going to be going over a little bit of our finances, big, broad view, our attendance, trends, about our new membership. We've been visioning and planning on how to make, remember when we did meaningful membership a few months back? Like how to make membership meaningful to not only Unity Naples, but to you as members. What's been going on around the campus, and it's obvious for those of you who are here because it changes and gets more beautiful every day. Probably you're all here to really hear what's going on in regards to spiritual leadership of Unity Naples, future pull, and then to really highlight our very special donations that has been made. So, but before I invite Mark Russell up, the president of our board, let us pray in, right? So take a breath with me. We pray in and pray out in order to sanctify or to bless the event, to simply invite in the Holy Spirit, to simply invite ourselves to turn our attention to the Spirit within us, to recognize that we are here as a group, and that we enter into, whenever two or more are gathered here, consciousness. And so I just simply bless this meeting and every aspect of it, knowing that as we participate in the uplifting conversations that transpire, that we are strengthened as a community. We are uplifted as a community. We are uplifted and inspired as individuals as well. And so for all of the blessings we give during this time, for all the blessings we receive during this time, we are grateful. We let this be, and so it is. Amen. All right, Mark Russell, please.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rev D. I want to first start by acknowledging all of the work that has been done historically, from Jack Kern founding this property, from ministers in the past, whether it be Richard Rogers, whether it be Reverend Diane, whether it be Reverend Mark Lord. We have been blessed to find a path here at Unity of Naples that puts us here at this point in time with exactly the right people, with exactly the right energy, and everything we're going to talk about today just continues to support that. So first of all, an introduction to the board of directors. My name is Mark Russell. I am the president of the board. I wasn't sure I was going to be president of the board, and I actually agreed with Reverend Mark that as long as he agreed to stay, I would agree to run for the board. You saw where that worked out. But again, we know that faith is there, and we've got that. So John Ward is vice president. He actually had a family commitment today, so he couldn't make it. We have Ciro Amato, who's the treasurer and should be doing finance. He actually has arranged to be in Ohio today, so he's going to be streaming in and watching. Denise Gunn, secretary. We have Ashley Pennebaker on the board. We have Pat Igo, who's in Ohio. We are truly a universal group. And we have Linda Collins. So from my heart to all of them, thank you for everything you do. When we talk about spiritual leadership, we're also going to talk about a search committee. And very spiritually, very intentionally, a search committee was put together really honoring all that we are as a community. So we have history, we have questioning, we have youth. We've attempted in the search committee for that leadership to create the energy that exists within our community. So as we get into that a little more, we'll explain that. But on that search committee is David Karg, Luis Pirtle, Erica Jones, our own Vera, Angela Black, and Rich Townsend. So to all of them, thank you for the work you've done up to date. Appreciate from there. Okay, a little bit of a update on the finances and just to kind of take you through where we've come from and hopefully where we're going. So if we can bring up that finance page. In 2019, pre-COVID, we managed to be in the black for the year by approximately $27,000. That's the phenomenal news. Out of that, though, there was an $85,000 bequest. So just to understand that even pre-COVID, as a church, we have had having some difficulty covering all of the finances. 2020, COVID year, changed our world, as we're all aware of. We actually lost about $129,000. We've made a lot of changes. We've made a lot of cutbacks. We're hopefully starting to bring those back into the energy of our campus. 2021, January through June, we have lost approximately $62,000. That is after all of the cutbacks. That is after all of the staff being pretty much shut down. So we have some challenges, but I think, again, your board, the community, we're ready to handle these challenges. This is not as negative as it may appear on the board. We're projecting for July through December to basically run another $36,000 in losses. Now, the key to that number is that we've added back in some staff. So we're talking about bringing back a maintenance person. We're talking about bringing back an individual to reignite the youth and family ministry. We're talking about adding some additional spiritual leadership, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. Other key things, the July through December income number, we have received a $10,000 bequest, which has come in, so that's also been a godsend, literally. And as I said, the July through December 2021. The situation from a business perspective is not great, but because of the planning, because of the energy, because of all of that's been done in the past, we are actually able to go through this financial situation and continue on in knowing that in the next 2 to 3 years, the ship will be righted and we'll be on a really good path. Rev D.
Just one thing I would add also is that in the July through December, we left the giving at exactly the same level as it was January through June. We didn't add anything. Now, that's not realistic to think that as we grow, as the community grows, that we move into high season, that income level that's noted there, the 180, is low. So the losses, we could actually end up in the black this year easily.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty strong. So we've tried to take a very conservative look at this and not get overly optimistic, but also knowing that we have a pretty powerful church and a pretty powerful world around us. All right, some highlights. Overall financial position, we have 3 to 4 years in reserve. So in theory, we could run down the road with these types of losses for the next 3 to 4 years. We're not going to do that, by the way, but we have that ability. So the problem isn't an emergency problem. It's something we can take time to solve, resolve, invest, things like making decisions to clean the churches, carpets, the chairs, those types of things. So we feel pretty confident in our ability to turn the ship around a little bit. At a visioning session, somebody brought up clarity on loans. And so we've talked about this at the annual meeting, but I do want everyone to understand what the board decided to do during COVID, where we're at with that, and where we'll do that going forward. So the government offered nonprofits something called PPP loans. And those were the ability to keep people employed and to borrow money that if you met certain guidelines would be forgiven. So our first PPP loan was approximately $40,000. Ciro would normally do this, so please forgive me if I'm off by $1,000 or $2,000, but that's the general sense. And it actually has now been forgiven. So loan 1, we've applied for forgiveness, it's been forgiven. The second PPP loan was approximately $27,000, and we're in the process of applying for forgiveness for that loan. I suspect that probably 20,000 of the 27,000 will be forgiven, so there'll still be a little bit of that left over as well. Lastly, the SBA offered an unsecured loan at 1% interest for 20 years, and the board made a decision based on where we were at financially to borrow that $140,000. So we have that in a bank account. It has not been spent, but at the 1% interest rate, the money is inexpensive relative to the market, and to not utilize that, we made a decision last year that this was the right thing to do. So again, transparency, everything on the table, not that we ever felt it wasn't that way, but somebody did feel that we hadn't been clear about those, and hopefully that answers some of those questions as well. I'm going to turn it back to Rev D because we've got some attendance numbers, which initially look a little soft, but if you look at the trends that we're running right now, it's pretty phenomenal.
Thank you. I don't know if I think they look soft at all, really. So I'm going to talk about attendance and our membership. What you're looking at is 2020, including COVID, so that you can see in April through August we were closed. So the only attendance we had was online attendance. Those numbers are really not horrible. Well, they're pretty horrible, I guess. So pre-COVID, we were seeing 1,500 live and online. And during COVID, that slipped down to 800, 500, 400. We reopened in September and to pretty low numbers really through to the end of the year. But if you move up to 2021, we are doing really, really well. Total live is 864 for June, which is the highest it's been since May of last year. So it's good. It's really good. So the numbers are good. On-site's good. I expected to see a pretty significant drop when Reverend Mark left. That really did not happen. Thank you very much. It really did not happen. It stayed pretty steady. The total views, I love this bottom number. This includes everyone who looks at the service after Sunday. So the first total live, so for example in January, total live was 1,132, which means from 10 to 11 o'clock on Sunday, but the total was 3,676. So we are reaching a really large number of people live and as we follow up. So it's all, I just wanted you to see. It's all very good news. Our goal, of course, build it and they will come. We probably added back another 150 chairs into the sanctuary over the weekend, so I have no doubt that they will be full soon. So we're not doing questions and answers yet, right? We're going to hold off till the end. Well, we could. Could we? Does anybody have any questions so far, really? Yeah.
What was it historically before 2020?
Well, I didn't add them up, but it would have been high. I would say in the 3 to 5. But I didn't look it up. I didn't do it. Just 2021. Anyone else? Yeah. Yeah, so Dina's asking about the money that was raised a few months back for our youth and family center and to build a playground. No, yep, I know all about that. Money is still sitting there unspent, waiting to build a playground. Yeah, Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. If you were at the picnic, right, last week, how many of you were at the picnic? So much fun and so great to see the kids back on campus. We had, what, maybe 10 to 15 children? So I think as soon as our task right now is to locate a person or to locate somebody who can take responsibility for our youth and family program under the direction of a spiritual leader, because obviously I can't be here and be in the youth church, right? So somebody has to be in the youth church. So that's our biggest challenge right now, is to really find somebody to take that on as a position.
Is Erica not
I don't know. I can't really answer that question. Eric and I are having lunch soon, and we shall see. I would say probably not, but she will be a wealth of support in actually getting that position filled. So, and I'm hoping she might support in some capacity for our at-home audience. Sorry, the question was, is Erica Jones going to come back into our youth program? And my answer was, I don't think so. Yep.
Can I just go back to the finances? Originally, we had two good-sized CDs that were being renewed. Are they still intact and being renewed, or
Yes.
have they become part of the budget? They're still.
Yes, they're still there.
All right, thank you.
All right, so let's talk about membership. You know, we have been ongoingly, we've had 118 first-time visitors here since January 1st. 118. And what's important about that is since COVID really, we don't really have a membership program that's viable enough, stable enough, fleshed out enough to really be a space that's really inviting those people to not be visitors. So our first-time guests, so we need a better membership program, not only for Unity Naples, but for people. People do well when they're involved, right, as part of a spiritual family, as part of a spiritual community. So it's my commitment really to bring forth a potent membership program that not only that finds a way to embrace people and bring them in at whatever level they're wanting to be brought into. So we're kind of kicking off a new way of looking at membership in July with an emphasis on member benefits, like what are the benefits to membership? And also, what are the commitments of membership? What does it mean to be a member here? So the first membership class is next Saturday. And I anticipate we'll have 15 people who are not now members who will be there. Anybody's welcome, even existing members, if you want to hear what's going on, what the membership classes will be like, all the new information, you are invited to stop in. I will probably also record it for our existing members, of whom we have a roster of 232, but I'm pretty sure that number is actually larger. So we need to find a way to get some clarity around those numbers and to have people have the opportunity to reconfirm their formal membership. Nobody has to be a formal member here. We love you. You are welcome here. We love you no matter what. But formal official membership means something to us and to you. It's important for our future as we move into wanting to open the campus up to be a world-class destination for spiritual seekers. If we ever need to build, if we ever need, it matters to everyone that we have members. So the membership class is, as I said, July 17th from 9 to noon. You're welcome to be here. And you can sign up for the membership class online. It's free, but we need numbers, how many people actually be here, because we're going to have light snacks. Yeah?
How does the database, or how did it determine active members?
Well, I can only tell you what I know since I've been here, that there was, Dan Granda left me an Excel spreadsheet of about 1,600 names. And I went through those into our database. We have a database. And I went back 3 years for every single name. And if that person had been here or we had had even one donation from them, they stayed on as members. If they hadn't participated in 36 months or not supported the church financially, they did not go on the list. And that's in alignment with our bylaws. Actually, bylaws actually call for an annual culling of the membership. So those 232 people were the people who fit those criteria. And the question had to do with how did those names get on, how do those 232 people end up on the list? But we recognize that that needs attention, so we're going to find some way to pay attention to that. We're going to institute, so out of the new member class next week, no matter who's there, whether you're already a member, whether you don't know if you're a member or not, whether you want to be a member, Everyone who chooses to be a member out of that class will have a new member dinner on July 30th, on a Friday evening, where everybody will meet each other, we'll have lasagna or something, I don't know, we'll have a wonderful dinner. And then the following Sunday, we'll have a new member ceremony on Sunday morning. And that's what we're going to do from now on. We'll have member name tags, and we'll, at the membership class, we'll begin to address member benefits, like what is the reciprocal nature of membership? Yes? Do you all like that? Yeah, all right. All right, any questions about that? Membership? All right. Yes? Uh-huh.
So when you said name tags, we used to have our, blue name tags. What's happened involved?
I know nothing of any name tags in storage here, so probably we will do new name tags. Yeah.
My question would be is, what are you doing with the other 1,600 names, okay, that maybe have reason for not contributing over the last 3 years or whatever? So, because, I mean, I've been here 17 years.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to tell you my track record in the last year hasn't been great for medical reasons. But I think, I know of a lot of people who don't come here any longer, and I don't think they should be forgotten.
Oh my God, we would never forget anybody.
Am I asking,
Yeah,
we have a database
yeah.
that separates people out from the year. So what you're saying is, if I misunderstood you, is it's based on whether you're giving, okay? That's, okay. So, am I right or am I wrong?
Well, so the question, what's your name? Kathy. So,
Kathy Rogers, just so you know, I'm the infamous Kathy Rogers.
yeah, no, it's okay. So Kathy is asking, Kathy is addressing what's happened to the other 1,412 people. Like, are they forgotten? Do they no longer matter? That's definitely not the case. That some of them, you're still here. So church membership, community membership means participation. It means visibility. It means support, not just financial support, but I mean, again, financial support doesn't mean $1,000. It could mean $1. It's a visible participation in the community. So that formal group where this check mark has been made literally just means that those people have made themselves known to us. Like they're in classes or they're in service or in some way they're actively participating. So, but that will always be the case with membership. Membership will always be that. Are you here? Are you in classes? Are we supporting you? So nobody could ever be forgotten by us or not matter to us. Yeah.
Does that account for most of the income for the church, those 200 or so people?
That's a very good question. I would say no. I would say no. I would say no. It does not equate to most of the income. I would probably say it probably does equate to most of the consistent income. That's a very good question. That would be a very interesting thing to know, like exactly what portion of our revenue comes from members, but I don't know. Yes? It's a very, very good question. Yes, because how will we know that you gave cash? So we have envelopes in the back that let people who give cash put their cash in the envelope with their name on it. So encourage you to do that. Yes, because how would we know, right? How would we know? And part of the teaching, part of the prosperity teaching that New Thought churches, Unity churches, all over the place teaches for us to, what we pay attention to grows, where our attention to expands. So if you've ever taken a prosperity class with Mary Morrissey or Edwin Gaines, they will always say, bless your dollar and put it in the basket with your name on it, because what you pay attention to grows. So it's never ever about the amount. It's about the intention, right? It's about the shared commitment that we are as a spiritual family and community that's wanting to make ourselves available to the whole world. right? We want to awaken the whole world. We want people from all over the world to come here. So it's a wonderful question. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to turn this over to our board members, Ashley Pennebaker and Linda Collins, who are going to come up and just share with you some of the good things that have happened around campus this year.
Okay.
So we would just like to acknowledge all that's going on around the campus. If you haven't noticed the beautification of the grounds and everything that's taken place. And I would just like to start with thanking Ashley and Mark, actually, for the renovation of our pond. Every morning on Sundays when I come in here, I love to stop and just look at the waterfall and the fish and the beautiful plants. So I encourage you, if you haven't gone by, and maybe just do a little meditation by it. It's so beautiful. Ashley, do you want to speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, I do, and I want to thank Mark for, when we did the pond, we made an area out there, we made some covers so that we could put fish and make it more natural to keep the water healthy. And Mark has now replenished it 2 times, Mark. And it seems that wildlife is smarter than we are, so the fish have disappeared a couple of times, but you know what? It's a beautiful place. It's everybody has noticed it, Mark, and everybody noticed the fish while they were here. So.
Go ahead.
Oh, me. Okay. And then speaking of Mark, reopening of our meditation path. Mark has done a lot of work in being sure that the path is open. So if you haven't gone out and actually taken time to walk the path, I think you should do that. It's wonderful, and thank you, Mark, very much for that.
Yes, thank you. Yes. There is like a trellis. There's a trellis over there. Yeah, I encourage you to walk it. It's beautiful. Actually, Reverend Claudia and we walked the path one day when we were out. It's absolutely beautiful, so thank you for doing that. And since COVID, we have been able to reopen higher grounds, and I know many of us have been able to go in and enjoy that. And I would really like to acknowledge and thank those people who have gotten that back open. So thank you, Pat, Sherry, Bernie, Dorothy, Catherine, and the entire team, and anyone that volunteers there. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We really appreciate you.
And the gardening landscape team, we want to thank Pat, who's my friend and my business partner. What she did is she set up this entire area outside near, if you've seen, all of that was removed and all new plants put in here in the 2 little triangles right here. And in the front, where our main entrance into the sanctuary is, that has yet to be done, but they've got, the sod was underwater or something, so we weren't able to bring sod, or she wasn't. We're going to sod the entire front out there and put new flowers in the front and new mulch around. So there's some other things to be done, but that is to Pat, the whole gardening team, and also to the lady who did a lot of work, who's not a member here, but is a small landscape company, Naomi, and my right-hand working guy, Benji, who's come to help us an immense amount. And I forgot about Benji in the pond. He actually rolled his blue jeans up and took all of the rocks out, took everything out, put the new membrane in. So Benji did a lot of work, and I want to be sure that he gets acknowledged appropriately. Thank you, Benji. Yeah. Okay.
And we'd also like to acknowledge Ashley and his partner, Pat Igo, who is also on the board, for power washing these roofs. And it's amazing. If you haven't noticed it, the next time you step outside, take a look at the roofs. I mean, it looks beautiful. They look brand new again. So thank you so much.
We'll be happy to send you before and after pictures, but it's stunning. And one more time to Benji, he came out and got on the roof and it took a solid week for him with a pressure washer. But he did an amazing job, and so thank you for everybody involved on that. Me? Okay. Reopening of the chapel. Who all's involved on that? We have no names here.
Yeah, we have no names.
Okay. And for reopening the chapel, thanks to all those who participated, it looks fabulous.
Yes, yes. And then we'd also like to thank everyone that was involved in the activity of cleaning these carpets and these chairs. It looks amazing. Thank you to the team, everyone that was involved. And if you haven't noticed, if you stand up and you turn around and look, every other chair is a different color, and it looks, the energy, it looks beautiful. I can't tell you how, it's incredible, and it feels, the energy just feels incredible. It's been a long time since that's been done, so thank you all.
And those who made the special contribution for that to happen. Thank you. This is a really, really great contribution. Gathering place renovation. For those of you who've seen... Those of you who've seen, yeah, there you go, stand up. All right, Louise, where's Louise?
Right here.
Stand up, Louise. Take a bow, come on. Louise made this happen. It is an incredible contribution and addition. I can't wait for the board to have a nice place to sit. When but last week, those of you here remember that it was simply a space with some chairs. This week, it is homey. It feels great. It actually adds to the feeling that I believe that Unity is moving, this Unity community is moving in the future of a welcome, loving, the energy is wonderful in there, so it feels great. If you haven't stopped by, take a few minutes to stop by and take a look, and thanks again, Louise.
That's absolutely beautiful. And then finally, we'd like to thank Angela Black and Louise Pirtle also for the renovation of our labyrinth. If you have not had an opportunity to walk the labyrinth, it's quite incredible. It's beautiful. So if you haven't been by to take a look at it, I encourage you to do so. And I look forward to an opportunity to have perhaps a class or a walk around that labyrinth and the history of it. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yes.
One more that I noticed is not there is one more shout out to Brian Jones and his family because they did some major repair in the Books Higher Grounds on the ceiling and the roof when it, for leakage, and just recently repaired that. So also thank you ongoingly to the Jones family.
And the last, which was not on the list, but we've had a complete rehab of the irrigation system. It was completely, virtually defunct. One of the sprinklers was not working, the pumps, and the line that went out into the lake had washed over and it was only sucking mud up. So Bernie made a suggestion of a wonderful young man. His name is Atlanta without the last day, Atlant. And he came out and worked for about 3 weeks. The complete irrigation system has now been rehabbed. It works fabulous, and our thanks to Bernie and all those who made that happen.
So I'm sorry, one more thing. I just want to say that everything that has just been pointed out, we did not pay for. The people who did this donated their time and their money to make it happen. These were gifts to us.
Yeah, we want to thank you all for the contributions of time, of money, of planning, of really helping the community to grow and to become the fabulous place that it is. And so a heartfelt thanks from me and the rest of the board and all who've been a part of the planning in this thing.
Yes, and thank you everyone.
Who's next?
As I drop everything. Sorry about that. Let me get caught up on my notes. Where are we at? Are we future of spiritual leadership? So in my experience at Unity, we talk about not living in the past. But I'd like you to bear with me a little bit, and I'd just like to go back and visit the path so you can follow the journey as to where we're at today. So we clearly have been dealing with unprecedented times. COVID, attempting to reopen the sanctuary, and Reverend Mark moving on. All of that, oh, by the way, and Reverend Denise agreeing to stay on as our interim minister. So all of that history has been fantastic. It gets better, trust me. All of that has brought us to a place where our thinking has shifted a little bit, and we're working on a concept that we'll explain in a minute. Before I get to the concept, I'd like to acknowledge that our community has truly been embracing Reverend Diane, and Denise, and Reverend Diane, but she was here before. And she's also been embracing us, so that's all good. As we begin to analyze all of the things that it takes to keep our spiritual community going, and we look at the history after Jack Kern, where typically ministers stay 3 to 5 years. There seems to be a rotation. And what we appear to be lacking in our thoughts is continuity. They've all been here for a purpose. They've all helped us get to where we needed to be, and then they move on and we go on. So we started to work on a concept of maybe a leadership team instead of a single spiritual leader. The ideal number that came to us, we're okay on the slides. Yeah, the idea that came to us was a spiritual leadership team of 3. To be able to offer a variety of personalities, but all working together with a coordinated message. The board actually met with Unity Worldwide Ministries to discuss the process. The only real interaction or comments that they had was that they requested that we be very prayerful, keep the good of our community in mind. Always at the front of our mind is to help let Spirit drive us. In that process, actually the day that Reverend Mark stood on this stage and announced that he was leaving, 2 ministers appeared. One was actually sitting in the chairs, which had been a candidate previously, and that was Reverend Claudia. Reverend Clive, who I think you've all met also, who's been a guest speaker, also showed up out of synchronicity right around the same period of time. So in talking the board, we decided to try to pull together the search committee, which we introduced you to earlier, and to start to think about this idea of, could those candidates be actually appearing for us, manifested by the energy in the past that we've had, and was it worth having a conversation with them before we moved on to a further conversation with others? In my business world, if I, as CEO of my company, were looking at candidates and I'd identified individuals with a certain level of strength that fit my team, then to go out and look for other people didn't necessarily make some sense, So we actually brought the search committee together. They met with the board, and we started to have conversation around these 2 individuals. Through those conversations, which by the way, were not always, hey, that's the most brilliant idea in the world. There were skeptics, there were conversations, there were discussions. The one thing that became very clear to us was that we needed to start with a commitment to the first leg of that spiritual team. So the board has universally committed to, and Reverend Denise has agreed to, be the first leg of that spiritual team. So no longer an interim part of our church, but actually one of our spiritual leaders. Rev D, would you stand up for a second? And out of that becomes a whole nother level of discussion. What do we need to complement Rev D? What does she need for support? And how do we deal with that? So we moved on to asking Rev Clive and Rev Claudia if they would come in and start to talk to the community a little bit so we could gauge the interaction that they had, so that we could listen in the back of the room. And also, after every one of those meetings, they met for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. We broke bread together to have a conversation with the search team and the board. Those were all amazingly dynamic conversations. I'll reiterate that the process has been very prayerful, very powerful, and truly profound for all of us involved. We reached out again to Unity Worldwide Ministries because we wanted to make sure we were following their process. So resumes came from Rev Clive and Rev Claudia's resumes came to us through University Worldwide Ministries. They did their background work. All of that went very, very well. After that process, I'm going to quote from an email I got from Ms. Angela Black that really was profound to me. Both candidates were brought into our community to teach and learn with us. And just like our most recent global awakening, we've all had the opportunity to get really comfortable with the understanding that change is inevitable, necessary, and within that, I trust in the order of divine timing, as no matter what, God's presence is always with us. We truly felt that way. We moved on to checking references, and those references were presented back to the search committee and the board again. The one twist that came into this was, as we talked earlier, about our financial situation. And we began to talk about whether or not we truly, the dream is 3, but right now, could we actually afford 3? The answer clearly is we could if we had to, because that's how we manifested. But it began to feel better to maybe start with 2, Rev Denise being 1, bring a second one in to solidify that team as we move forward. So at our last meeting, it's with unanimous recommendation from both the search committee and the board that we put forth Rev Claudia Tamber to join the spiritual team. Assuming, of course, that there's general support for our community. I can tell you that Rev Denise is very, very much behind that. There's no question that she's been a driving force on that. And with basically the end of this meeting today, we'll start to move forward with contract negotiations unless there's some dynamic shift in the room that we haven't anticipated. And our conversation with Rev Clive will continue. It's a very positive conversation. He's a wonderful guy. I personally find him to be amazingly intellectual in the discussions. The paths haven't aligned 100% yet, but certainly I see Rev Clive as being part of our lives going forward as a spiritual teacher, maybe the third person on the team. That's all open for discussion. We're not taking that away. It just feels to us like Rev Claudia is the one to solidify that side of it. And that's where we're at. Thoughts, questions? We actually have a second microphone, so we could, if anybody'd like to. In general, how do you feel about it? Rev Denise?
Does our board have the authority to actually select the ministers, or is that up to the membership?
That's a great.
As we have been in the past?
That's a great question. The board actually ultimately, whether the membership has realized it or not, the board is actually in the bylaws is dictated with that responsibility. One of the reasons that we've changed up the practice and procedure a little bit is because the feeling is that as we vote for a minister, that's my words, that's nobody else's, when my person is not chosen, they're not my minister. I've sat in church and had people say to me, I didn't vote for that individual, I didn't vote for that individual. In talking to Unity Worldwide Ministries, they also felt that the best practice of voting was really not generally a good practice. The bylaws specifically say that the search committee does the search and that the board does the final decision with hopefully feedback from the community. So we're not saying don't give us feedback. We're really just saying that we're just trying to do the process. Does that answer? Okay. Any other questions? So the question that was asked, just for the folks to get online, because I think it's a great question. The question that was asked is, don't you need somebody, if I paraphrase it wrong, please let me know, but the sense of the question, because we've all asked ourselves this in this process, is, don't we need a senior minister, a senior person to ultimately be responsible for the decision? That's the question. It's one that we as a board and that we as a search committee did a lot of talking about. It's not unheard of to use this type of leadership style in nonprofits. What's really, really important is that we define the roles, the expectations, and that we are constantly in communication with each other, that we move that forward. So we are actually working on the jobs, rules and responsibilities, how we check to make sure that things like fundraising are being done properly, that we're hitting the points. But I'm a CEO of an organization. I struggle with it at first. I'm like, wait a second, don't we need somebody who can finally make that decision? We've decided we think we can do this well.
The financial position that I have a business and I can't hire 3 people for 1 position. So I'm wondering how you're going to finance it.
So we're actually spending less money in 2021 than we would have in 2019. That's actually the reason for not bringing the 3rd person on initially. We're also down staff significantly. Rev Denise was originally hired as the executive director. Reverend Mark was the minister. We have, Patrick was on the board. There's a list of people that have been replaced. Replaced is probably not the, replaced. But financially, we're actually spending less in this role than we would have in 2019. And we hopefully will drive the income as well. 2020 as well. Good questions, and sorry for those online. The question was, how do we financially deal with this relative to the person from a business perspective?
I could also, there is a model already called co-ministry that is not unheard of in the world, and it's a far better model than, so I've been a senior minister for 20 years. I've had my own church. It is, it's a wonderful blessing to be that, and it's also a lot of work. The more people you have, the more work it is, right? Because we're in relationship. So to have another spiritual leader to provide spiritual leadership, because keep in mind that the ministers themselves don't run the church. They're not out there. You have a board for that. You have the volunteers for that. So in some ways, it's far healthier for me and for the other people on the spiritual team in terms of balance, life balance, quality of life, being able to be available, being fresh, being able to allow inspiration. It's a far better model. And in fact, my original feedback when Mark left is, I don't want this job. I'll stay until you find somebody who wants this job. But in no way would I step back into being a solo senior decision maker hierarchically in a spiritual community that needs diversity. So that's my input for that.
It's not a done deal yet because we absolutely still have negotiations, to go on, but it feels really, really good. So on the spiritual leadership, that is the update. Obviously, we're here. Your board is present. If you have other comments, feel free to reach out, talk to us individually. We certainly want to be here for you, and we look forward to seeing what's in our future.
I'm going to keep doing that. And I love doing that. And I'm good at doing that. So for this year, until we get a little more financially grounded, for this year I'm going to keep doing both, because with Claudia and I both here, we'll have enough bandwidth to do it, to do that. Thank you for asking. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I think we're on.
Question?
I don't quite understand what Reverend Clive's position is. You're talking about co-ministry.
Yes. So Reverend Claudia, so she would come in as a spiritual co-minister, and Reverend Clive would not come in any official capacity at this time. but we love him, so we're not telling him to go away and never come see us again. So he can talk, teach, whatever. We'll see what Spirit has in store. Yes.
Will we be told what the responsibilities are for what you'll be responsible for and what she'll be responsible for?
Will you be told? It will probably become obvious over time because we have Sunday talks, right? We have Wednesday evenings, we have youth and family, we have membership. There are obvious areas of spiritual leadership. And she and I have yet once, I'm sensing a general, this is great. I'm not sensing anybody, no, don't bring Claudia. Claudia is amazing. We would be so blessed to have her. She's a unity minister. She's loving, competent. She brings with her an amazing husband who's also very, very skillful at very many things. She and I must sit down and do the work you're asking, like what area of responsibilities, and also speaks to your question, who's got the bottom line, right? Where does the buck stop in any particular area? So yes, I think it'll become obvious to you how we divvy up the responsibilities. Prayer chaplains, spiritual education, to be determined. Yeah.
Do you have a date as to when this is all going to happen?
The best, I'm going to just lay it out to you for me, what I want. We're working towards mid-August. We're having a Rap with the Rev turn into Rap with the Revs on August 15th. We would love to onboard her into the community before I go on my sojourn to South Africa for 30 days, so that she'll be here in time, comfortable, ready, so we don't miss a beat. So that's the plan. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes? Yes? Mm-hmm. Do you want me to do the marriage thing? Do you want me to do the marriage announcements? Whoever would not have this, I don't know how it goes. Is there anybody who would like this union to be interrupted, please? All right. Yes? All right, say that again? No, say that again? I'm just going to move into future poll, but if you have a question, ask it, sure. Uh-huh. So I can answer your question. Yeah. I'm going to answer your question. So the question has to do with Jody, who, for those of you who are streaming live or who don't know, Jody was the music director here. She and I have been in conversation. She will be coming back and doing a series of concerts. As soon as she gets back, she's a snowbird, so she doesn't live here. We will not be losing Jesse and Amy anytime soon. They are fabulous for us. Now, whether we could add Jody, I have not met Jody face to face, nor have I been privileged to hear her beautiful music. I hear she is stunning. So I don't, in my, I'm going to tell you, I look for how to say yes to absolutely everyone and everything. If it's possible to say yes, I say yes, or to say yes in a way that really doesn't precludes the no, never. So you will not hear that come out of my mouth too much. So I say yes to Jody, and let's see how it plays out in time. Yeah, many of you have. Yeah. Yes, I can't wait to hear her. In fact, I understand this piano is here was donated for her. So she is an icon here. I look forward to seeing her. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Well, earlier I was talking, he's asking about how do we expand our membership. The nationwide statistic for church giving is $17 per person per visit. We're at about 22, so we are above national average. So obviously, butts in the seat is important to our pocketbooks, right, and to our coffers, obviously. This, we also have a team, I don't know, we haven't really talked about them, but a team that started to come together a few weeks ago to explore how we can have this gorgeous global destination campus be a revenue generator, so that instead of the church trying to support the property supports the church. So that combined with membership, growing membership through our new membership program, to making sure that we continue to anchor prosperity teachings and to begin to utilize, I mean, we live in Naples. Somebody could host a birthday party for their 5-year-old on our grounds every Saturday of every month, right? Weddings, memorial services, corporate board meetings. There are so many ways. And if we can make this entire campus look like our gathering room, we can charge a whole lot for doing that, right? And we have, yes, and we're going to build into membership a membership benefit that if you're a member, you get access to the property and your events for less expensive than an outside person would. So we are working as hard as we can to really see these numbers come up, and they are coming up. I mean, really, they are coming up. There's nothing but good news here, right? And by the way, the church, with the exception of the bequest money, has not been in the black for way, 10 years. I mean, this church, the income and expenses have not been equal. So that's a new idea.
Can I just actually take
Sure.
a moment to introduce Beth Williams? Beth, if you'd stand up for a second. Beth is actually leading up, it started out with a core group of people. She's leading up our visioning team for bringing that prosperity, that spiritual center here. And if you would like to be part of that, we're definitely opening it up for more and more people. And we have the pleasure of having Steve Ruby in the room as well. Please, Steve. Just a little bit about Steve. Steve was actually married here 10 years ago, has not been a member of the church, but is drawn to use his unique skills. Okay. Sorry about that. To use his unique skills to help us bring some of that financial prosperity and those things, to make sure that whatever we're doing is in line with the spiritual community. And clearly the purpose here would be to, in perpetuity, continue to make sure that Unity of Naples is here.
And so really in alignment too with our message today, don't worry, right? Don't worry, because worry doesn't create a future we want. You are amazing. This community is amazing, and there's absolutely no reason why we will not step into a future that is abundant, prosperous, loving, expansive. I love the idea of people coming. Have you ever heard of Findhorn? We can be Findhorn in Naples, right? We have the grounds, we have the consciousness, we can be a spiritual destination for Deepak Chopra, for anybody, so many good things, yes? So Jesus would say, be of good cheer, worry not. All right, so let's just talk, yeah. Sure, we need a choir director. Are you volunteering? So listen, so here's, right? I'm right though. A choir director, make yourself known. I'm not sure I understand your question. Will there be more classes for Unity certified teachers, or will their certified Unity teachers be teaching classes?
Will the licensed Unity teachers that are members here, will they be utilized to have?
I would love to meet them.
Well, Nancy Jacklow and
She's been teaching? Oh. And Janine and I have recently connected, and she's now getting back involved. So I would say if Janine wants to teach a class, sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah, see? Yes. Yes.
Are there any plans to opening up the rooms again for like yoga? We used to have yoga on Monday and then an evening class and then our spiritual.
Are you a yoga teacher?
No.
Yoga teachers, make yourself known. Well, they have to go to somebody. Right. Say that again?
Can you solicit them to come back again and make them an offer?
I don't.
Pay money to rent the room.
Yes, they do. Or something, yes, of course. Well, if you're a member, if they're an outside person who wants to utilize our community and our space, of course they have to rent our rooms. If they're members, if they're part of our community and want to love offer to give their gifts and talents, then it's a whole different conversation, right? So right now, the labyrinth's being prepared. We have crystal bowls. We have a kirtan happening. The best way to make something happen is to ask, is to bring it forward, right? So anything, yes.
So with the visioning team and moving forward with what's going to be happening with campus, does it make sense to advertise that, you know, we have all this space, these classrooms, this fellowship hall for people in the spiritual health wellness community that are paying high rents?
Yes. So the question is, given that we have all this space that's been shut down since COVID, really, so we're now dusting it off. I mean, the youth rooms we haven't been in there for a year, right? So we're dusting off the spaces, uplifting the spaces, decorating the spaces, cleaning. Do you know how far it goes that it's been cleaned here? Because now if I came to the Kirtan, I might actually sit on this carpet, right? Now that we have this room, it's actually a rentable room. So the team, this visioning team, part of it is to have a plan, a business plan that says this is what we're available, this is how much we're charging, this is how we're going to market and find the people who might come into our space. So it's part of this, it's a plan. So anything is possible. And when I get back from Africa, I'm probably going to offer what I've developed is a spiritual leadership class so that we can generate leadership within the community, because even ultimately it's still just me and Claudia, right, and the prayer chaplains and the board. So to be that kind of place and to have that kind of following will require leadership and people. So I would say yes to all of your questions, yes. Let's look a little bit at what the future is. Let's look at some of the future polls. So obviously, one of our primary current desires is to get our youth and family program operating again. And when we say youth and family, I mean youth and family. So it's not just a place for kids to go on Sunday. It's how do we support the families in our community, the parents, the grandparents, and as Reverend Clive would have said, the cradle to grave way that we have of embracing a spiritual family. So you get a 5-year-old in here, and then we want to put them through college, right? And then we want them to come back and bring their families. So how do we re-implement our youth and family? It's a huge intention that requires youth and family leadership. So we're working on it. All of these things. Develop the property as a wedding venue. I think Mark Russell's planning a mock wedding here in the fall, so all the wedding planners in our community can come see what a great venue this would be for their weddings. Do you know how much money we can make on weddings here? Yeah, so that's definitely in process. Develop the property for birthday parties, graduations, and retreats. Originally the vision was to have housing here, like yurts or all that's pretty expensive, but not out of the picture in the future because we have the land, right? We have the property to do it. Create and roll out a formal spiritual education program for 2022 for introductory spiritual classes, advanced spiritual classes, whatever it is, to find teachers. Start a 2022 prayer chaplain training program. Start a 2022 affordable prayer chaplain training program. I've heard a little, so we can increase the number of people here who can pray with our community, hold our community in prayer, visit our community in the hospitals, whatever it is, member prayer and care outreach, right? How do we proactively care for people? Close to my heart, creating sacred circles, whatever that looks like. In my church, we call them home groups. We had home groups throughout the city of Raleigh, North Carolina, meeting every Friday night, doing spiritual practice together, breaking bread together. Spiritual leadership training and development. Campus and community development team, which is Beth and Stephen's team we were just talking about, to support long-term viability and fulfillment of our spiritual mission. So those are just a few things that are on our hearts and on our lists of things that Claudia and I will be coming into partnership about. I have to tell you that I've been working with boards, church boards, for a long time, and this is the best board I have ever experienced. Ever. They are loving. They are all on the same page. We're respectful. We're honest. But mostly we're friends, right? So there's no adversity on this board. Thank you. Thank you so much. For those of you who don't know me, I will tell you right now, I'm a drama-free zone. Don't try. But loving, right, Denise? Right? Denise Achino, let's love her a little bit. She's the most amazing person. So from all the staff you had, this is what you have. I'm going to tell you what you have right now. You have Denise Achino, who is our office administrator. You have, yes. You have Amy and Jesse, who are our amazing music team. Jesse is not only our music director, but he's also handling all of our graphics and Sunday production in absence of Patrick. So he took Patrick's role. We have Matthew, who handles our streaming, and Yo. We just hired a groundskeeper, Daniel. Will be starting a week from Sunday, part-time. We have Caitlin and Will, who get a stipend for working the sound and the slides. Patrick is continuing to monitor our website and do our newsletter, but that will come over to Jesse at some moment. And me. So that is your staff right now. And then Claudia will be added to that. So, and they are wonderful. It's the best staff as well. Amazingly creative people, hardworking people. All right, so back to Mark for a minute. Any
Yep.
questions about all of that? We good? Okay.
If
Yeah. Well, as soon as we're... I don't think so, but we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those little business card blessings, so when we run out of those, we'll look at something else. Because it would just be a waste of money to throw them, right? Yeah.
I wanted to thank you and thank everybody that has brought food to Avalon. It really does my heart good. And if I could just make one suggestion, that in the Hispanic community, a staple in their homes are beans and rice. Makes a complete protein, it feeds a lot of people, and that would be a great collection.
All right, guys. Yeah, thank you.
hopefully this meeting has felt wonderful to all of you, but I get the special privilege of acknowledging one last pretty amazing thing. Karen and Dee, are you, Dee and Bill, one of those days. Dee and Bill, they're right here. Can you stand up for a moment? So, Dee and Bill are amazing people. They have recently sold a spiritual center in Tennessee, and they've been coming to Unity of Naples for how many years? 12 years? 12 years. They have actually honored us with a $55,000 gift to help launch us as that spiritual center. So just thank you both for everything. Dee really didn't want to do that, so I thank you, because candidly, it now puts the pressure on us. It's not fair to accept a donation of that level without it becoming a match. So our challenge to our community is to match that $55,000 with a matching $55,000. We're going to spend some time, we'll work up some plans, we've got time, but the goal is to get that done before December 31st of this year. And I believe that we actually already have a text to give, and if you just put your amount and the word match behind it, it will go towards that match, and we will be developing programs and enticements. But truly, if we're going to invest, we need to invest in our community. So, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Denise, do you want to pray us out?
It's been a long day. I'm tired. Are you? So I want to just thank you all for staying after for this, because I'm just blown away by how many people are here. This was like the post-COVID months, right? For months, we had this many people. Of course, I couldn't see your beautiful faces then, right, because of the masks, but I am so honored to, I am so sweetly surprised at how deep my love for you is and how deep my commitment showed up for me. Because it wasn't in the cards for me to go back to work, right? It wasn't, but I just am having so much fun, and I'm so excited to be loving this community, to be working with Reverend Claudia, to be building, to having it actualize itself fully. For those of you who know, I live in North Fort Myers, so I drive 2 hours to come here every time, and it's so joyous. Do you know why? I discovered audiobooks. So I know, that's no small thing. That's no small thing. So now it's like, oh my God, I get to drive. So anyway, we are all, the board and I, the staff, we are here for you. And we are here for you in a positive and affirmative, forward-thinking way. We have a future to attend to, right? So we want to call the past glorious and complete. We want to step into our future with a positive attitude, knowing, as if you were here this morning, everything is conspiring for our greater good. This universe is for us and not against us. It's for you and not against you, that we are a family. Yes? Yes. All right, so let's just turn within for one more moment together to simply end this glorious day that the Lord hath made. To simply give thanks to all of the hearts and the hands that have been lending themselves to make this campus alive and beautiful, luxurious, classy, a place that who in their right mind would not want to be every minute of every day. And so I know as our membership becomes stronger and more active, that our good moving into the future is guaranteed. I fear not. I am not worried at all. And so I just simply release this word into the fertile soil of this universe, knowing that even now, molecules are being moved on our behalf. Hearts are being lifted on our behalf. That all is truly well with our souls. And so we give thanks for this. We let this be. And so it is. Amen. We are done.